everybody, to our On the Rocks. For those of you that have participated with us in the past during our 1881 virtual events, these events are designed to be fun, exciting, and social. So familiarize yourself with the chat function on your toolbar. This is a great place to connect with other Huskies from around the globe and share what cocktails you enjoy, the beers that you like right now, obviously the craft beer world, the wines that you like to go to on a typical holiday evening, whatever it might be. We also want to know where you guys are dialing in from or logging in from today. So definitely jump into the chat. Let us know where you guys are all coming from. We'd love to hear where you guys are coming in from. Already seeing some folks jumping in there. Kansas City, Missouri, Houston, Texas. Some folks out there out here in Connecticut, Cheshire, Ellington, Norwalk. Wow, you guys are hitting it hard here. Waterford, Bolton, DC, East Haven, Connecticut, Manchester, New Jersey, Glastonbury. Wow, it's going up fast. Westchester, some Boston folks there, Eli. Longmeadow, let's see, Mystic, wow, San Jose, Costa Rica, okay, all right, we've got our international Huskies joining us tonight. Jackson, Mississippi, Ann Arbor, Michigan, big blue country out there. Gig Harbor, Washington, wow, we are represented tonight. We are expecting over 250 Huskies joining us today. I see LA, Towson, Maryland, Florida. Welcome to all of you who are joining us tonight. We are excited to have you. We know UConn Nation is everywhere, and we're thrilled to have you all joining us tonight. So next, as we get rolling into our evening, we're expecting some questions throughout. So we're asking you guys to please take note of that, the Q&A function that's on your toolbar. If you go to that toolbar and type in your questions, it'd be appreciated. Obviously, as you can see, the chat function could fill up and move pretty quickly. So if we can keep everything in the Q&A side, we'll get to as many of those as we can, and that'll help us to streamline those as they come through. Lastly, I'm joined by my colleague, Jody Kaplan, who'll be moderating the chat, and she's here to assist you should you have any technical questions or anything that might pop up that we might be able to help you with. And really, welcome again to everybody. Now we're going to jump into this. I know you're probably all excited. So we are going to go ahead and introduce our mixologist this evening, Mr. Eli Shapiro. Eli, we're thrilled to have you join us. I'm going to read your bio here for just a second. Eli Shapiro is currently the beverage manager of Rail Stop, one of the leading cocktail bars in New England. Rail Stop is located in Boston, Mass, at Boston Landing, I should say, in Brighton, Mass, home of the New Balance World Headquarters, Warrior Ice Arena, which is the practice facilities for the Boston Bruins, and the Red Auerbach Center, practice facilities for the Boston Celtics. Eli started out in the hospitality industry as a door guy in 2008 and fell in love with all aspects of the hospitality industry. And over the years, he's worked as promoter, bartender, barback, busser, server, host, manager, and even the line cook. So he's done it all. He's worked at over 20 different bars, restaurants, nightclubs, musical venues, you name it, throughout Massachusetts and New York. And he has consulted for numerous restaurant and beverage brands, such as Jack Daniel's, Red Bull, Maker's Mark, Tito's, Woodford Reserve, and more. And Eli, you definitely have a huge resume here, numerous awards for cocktails and competitions throughout your tenure in hospitality, claims to be the ultimate hospitality expert. I know in my conversations with him leading up to this, he truly has a knack for all of that. He is highly regarded as a cocktail expert and a garnish master. He's also a proponent of sustainability techniques. So for those of you that are interested in that, I'm sure we can answer a few questions along the way. He's been a guest speaker at several New England food shows, present on the same stage as the world famous Bar Rescue's John Tapper. And he has visited numerous distilleries around the world, sampling a few things along the way, from what I understand, for various spirits. And we hope to bring some of the knowledge that Eli's acquired through his career here. And lastly, he is a proud Husky. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from UConn in political science. Turns out we overlapped in some of our time at UConn, so we were talking a little bit about that. My friend, I think I speak for all of us here at UConn Nation when I say welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we're thirsty. Can we drink now?
Yeah, let's go for it. Thanks for having me, Josh, and thank you to all the attendees out there. It looks like we have more people than would show up to my parties at Celeron, so that's a good look. Thanks for showing up today. Appreciate it.
All right, no worries. Well, we're thrilled about this. Hopefully the drinks are going to be a little bit better than our time at Celeron, so hopefully we can make this work. Let's get started. Let's tackle what are we making here and what order? Because I think that I've learned in our experience through these events, most people want to know what they're going to start with so they can get a little head start on it. So what are we making in our order here?
So we're going to start off with an old fashioned, and for that you're going to need sugar. I have these brown sugar cubes over here. You're going to need some bourbon, an orange, some cherries, and some ice. So we're going to start out with an old fashioned, then we're going to do a daiquiri, then we're going to do a mojito, and last but not least, we're doing that UConn True Blue Hot Toddy. And don't worry, this blue does not contain blue curacao. It's made with natural flavors and colors.
All right, so we're going to have some natural flavors and not the artificial sweetener. Sounds good. All right, now that we've gone over our order, I know you've had us purchase a lot of different things. Can we review the tools that we should have in front of us just so we can kind of make sure we're all on the same page?
Yeah, so let's go over our tools first. We're going to need our shaker set right here. We have this Boston shaker set. This is a Japanese style, but you can use any type that you want. Next up, we have a jigger. It's our measuring tool.
Right.
Is 2 ounces on this side and 1 ounce on this side. If you don't have that, just use a shot glass. It'll work fine.
Just in case.
A peeler, a knife, and a cutting board. We're going to have a mesh strainer and a Hawthorne strainer.
Got it.
The glasses that we need a rocks glass, a martini glass, a pint glass or a highball, and then a hot mug.
Got it.
Hot water, some mint, and hopefully you guys got that beautiful butterfly PET. You're also going to need a muddler and a spoon or a bar spoon. And that should do it for the tools.
Okay. Well, while we're on the subject, can you talk to us a little bit about this hospitality term? I know you and I chatted about it. I used to work at a hospitality school. This mise en place. What should we do, and how should it be kind of set up? I've got stuff kind of in what I think is an order, but you tell me.
Yeah. So basically, it's however you feel comfortable. You want to know where everything is. So it's important that you set it up a certain way. I have the sugar cubes and the cherries next to each other and next to the rocks glass because that's going in with the old fashioned. And you basically want to know where your bitters are without looking for it, the shaker. I want you guys to be able to do this blindfolded by the time we're done with this.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, I know that in many of these, and you and I talked about this, and I'm going to pull up an image here really quick and that you sent over. We want to talk a little bit about the art of tasting. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into this. So talk to us a little bit about how this works, what we should know, the process. I mean, with wine and beer, we all know that there's a process to this where to understand and truly appreciate the beverage, there's a lot that goes into it. So can you walk us through what that entails?
So, you know, before you drink something, especially a cocktail, you eat with your eyes first. Okay. You're going to use all of your senses to absorb this drink. So if you get a drink that has an awesome garnish and it hits you in the face and it looks so awesome, you're already in a good mood. You're already anticipating that this cocktail will be delicious. So that's sight, right? Another one is smell. So when we're doing the mojito, you're going to take the mint, right, and smack it and let the aromas tickle you in the nose. So that's going to hit you in the nose before you sip it. Same thing with the orange citrus. That's going to hit you first before you drink it. So we have sight, smell, even sound is another proportion. Like if you shake a drink and you're shaking it really loud and the ice is clacking around, you know that it's going to be a solid cocktail. It also depends on the ambiance. If there's, you know, death metal playing in the background, your cocktail might not be as elegant as if, you know, it was classical or jazz or something easier. And your perception of the cocktail has a lot to do with sound as well.
All right.
So another thing that we didn't really touch on, taste. Your tongue has different taste receptors based on the location of it. So if you're drinking something bitter, you're going to hit it in the back of the tongue, on the top. And the sour receptors, there's more sour receptors on the side of your tongue, whereas the front of your tongue has a lot of sweet receptors. So when you want to taste a spirit or something, you want to, here, let me start it off like this. So you're going to want to take some whiskey, pour it in a glass. You want to smell it with your nose first.
Okay.
Then you.
Here, I might as well join you. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Never had to twist my arm to pour a whiskey.
For cocktails, but you want to smell it with your nose first, and then smell it with your mouth open. Then you're going to want to pour it in your mouth just a little bit and let it coat your entire palate, all areas of the tongue. So now that your palate is coated, you kind of want to pour a little bit more, and I call this what I know, not from experience, but I call it the bong sound, where you kind of introduce air into it, and then you get a further taste. And you know what? Whiskey is delicious. So cheers, UConn.
All right. For those of you that are taking part in, obviously, the Woodford Reserve, you'll know that Woodford has a distinct flavor that oftentimes is considered very sweet. But if you're not a spirit drinker, you'll also know that it can have a certain bite to it that if you're not prepared for. Hopefully you're doing all right at home right now and not coughing that on that right now as we get started. All right. So, all right, very good, cool. So, Eli, we're going to make 4 drinks tonight. Chances are there are some folks at home that are fine with the full pour that we're going to be doing tonight. But in case they aren't, can we talk a little bit about, prepping them so they can still get up to go to work tomorrow? What do you recommend for folks, and what do they need to do to cut down the alcohol pieces?
So what I'm going to be doing is either a 1.5 ounce or a 2 ounce pour. And in this jigger, an ounce and a half goes all the way up to here, almost all the way to the top.
So just about the top with a slight, almost like a half a finger, basically?
Yeah. On the other side is 1 ounce. You can just substitute all pours, if you like, with 1 ounce. It's just going to affect the flavor profile of the drink a little bit. But all of these cocktails are very balanced. So although I'm going to go with the 1.5, 2 ounce measure, please be responsible. I live walking distance from here, so as long as you guys are being safe, that's cool with me.
Well, I live from walking distance to where I am too, so it's all good. I think most of our folks that are joining us hopefully are at a walking distance to where they need to go at the end of the day. But that's great to know. The short pour I think is going to be good to understand a little bit about that. Now you've wet my whistle here. I've gotten into the whiskey, the bourbon here. I think I speak for everyone here that not to be corny, but let's get shaky. Let's start making our drinks. What's up first? Let's walk us through this.
All right, so let's do the old fashioned first. Old fashioned is an old drink. It was actually originally made with gin. Back when gin was so volatile, people were making it in bathtubs, and you just had to add a bunch of things to make it palatable, to make you able to drink it. Woodford Reserve, as you just tasted, if you did, it's delicious, and I can drink that on its own. But if you add a sugar cube and a couple of dashes of bitters with some citrus oil, it just is the most perfect cocktail. So if you go to a bar, ask for an old-fashioned, see how they make it, and if they make a good old-fashioned, chances are that the rest of their cocktails are really solid too, because I think it's a really foundational drink for bartending.
All right, and now Eli, you told me to remind you before we get started here, we have a couple things we need to do with our glassware. Can you walk us through what we need to be doing there?
So for the later drinks, for the next drink, I want you to take your martini glass or coupe, as I have here. Take some ice and just put it on it, okay? You're going to want to take that, chill it. This is how we chill the glass. We're just going to put this aside.
My trusty Corona bucket that we got down at Carolina Ale House for those of us that joined us last year at the Proulx Classic.
There we go.
Right.
All right, and next but not least, we're going to take your coffee mug or Irish coffee mug, and you're going to pour hot water in it.
All right.
Because it's very important that the hot toddy is hot.
Got it.
The hot toddy is hot, and the rest of the drinks need to be cold. So we're just going to ice that coupe or martini glass, put it aside, put hot water in that mug, put it aside,
Right.
and then we'll get up to my favorite, the old fashioned.
All right.
So
Take it away.
let's go. All right. So we're going to take 1 sugar cube. I have these house-made sugar cubes that we make here at Railstop. We like to use all natural brown sugar, no preservatives, no additives. If you are using just regular sugar, my preference is no additives, no bleach. And if you don't have sugar cubes, I would either take 2 bar spoons, 2 to 3 bar spoons, or a tablespoon of sugar and just put it in the cup.
And you said 2 cubes, right? Or 1?
1 cube.
1 cube. All right. Just clarify.
For the old fashioned, yeah. And then we're going to take our Angostura bitters. These are the original bitters made with gentian root and a bunch of different barks from an Angostura tree, which is the building block for all other bitters. So we have a ton of house-made bitters, but I'm not going to try and replicate that. Let's just stick with the original, the #1 Angostura bitters.
Okay.
We're going to do about 7 dashes. That's the unit of measurement. So this little top on it kind of allows a little spurt each time. So we're going to take it upside down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's do that.
All right.
All right. And then you let the sugar or sugar cubes sit in those bitters. I like to swirl it around a little.
Okay.
Let the sugar cubes soak up some of those bitters. And then I'm going to take the mug, just gently in the middle. You don't want to go on the edge of the glass or it will break, and that is not fun. So you're basically twisting the sugar into the bitters. You're going to let that dissolve a little bit. You kind of want it to be a nice little sludge on the bottom of the drink. I prefer sugar over simple syrup because I like the texture and the feel of the sugar. So now that this is all muddled into the bottom, we're going to take 1.5 to 2 ounces of bourbon. And yeah, this time we're using Woodford Reserve. And then pour that right on top of the sugar bitters mixture. So let's talk a little bit about bourbon. Josh, what do you know about bourbon?
Probably more than an average person. For the folks that know me, I'm a craft person. I know a little bit more than the back in the days of Dubra that many of us probably remember from our time at stores. But obviously, sour mash is the key ingredient here. I'm a Buffalo Trace, a Woodford. Let's see, what else do I have? My go-to right now is Belle Meade bourbon, which is out of Florida. Sorry, not Florida, out of the South. So yeah, a little bit of everything, but I know I enjoy it. So tell me more.
So in order for this spirit to be called bourbon, it has to be distilled with at least 51% corn. Most of the bourbons that I know are 60 to 70%, and then the rest is either rye or cereal grains or wheat, something like that. It has to be distilled from at least 51% corn. It has to be aged in new American oak barrels, and it has to be made in the continental U.S. Now, you have that bourbon from somewhere else, but I believe that the best bourbons come from Kentucky.
All right.
It doesn't have to come from Kentucky to be bourbon, but those guys have just been doing it so long that they're the boss. But yeah, there's a lot of new up and coming distilleries. There's some whiskey makers in Massachusetts that are trying it out. I still think that my guys in Kentucky do it the best. But enough.
Nashville, Tennessee. That's where I looked it up. Nashville, Tennessee. I knew I had that somewhere.
So yeah, Tennessee whiskey is
You're partial.
It could be called bourbon, but let's not get into that.
All right.
Let's get into stirring because I'm thirsty. So now that the whiskey is sitting on top of that sugar and bitters mixture, we're just going to slowly stir that sugar into there until most dissolves. I see a couple more grains in there, but I enjoy that, so I'm going to let it hang out.
And that's the benefit of having the cubes, right, as opposed to the table.
Right. The simple syrup, it would be done already, but a good old fashioned takes some time. It's not about speed. I once had a bartender take 8 minutes. We're not bragging, but the guest was pretty upset, but I thought it was hilarious. So we're going to add some ice on top of this, throw it all the way to the top of the glass. And then we're going to stir gently. We're going to basically push the liquid through the ice. You don't want it to make much sound. You're just pushing the ice, chilling it without diluting it too much. This is why old fashions are stirred. So you can see that the level of the liquid has risen, and it's about 3/4 of the way to the top. I'd say that's ready to go. Next up, just add a cherry. Here at Railstop, we make our own cherries. We don't grow them, but we remove the pits and soak them in rum and vanilla cordial and all this cool stuff. But if you don't have these at home, which you don't, you could use these Luxardo cherries. So you're going to pop that into the cocktail. And next up, I'm going to show you how to express citrus oils on top of this drink. So, Josh, I wanted to illustrate the expression. Last time we had a hard time, but I brought a flashlight along. Hopefully you can see it this time. Basically, you're going to take an orange peeled, fingers on the side, and you're going to fold it this way out. So the orange side is going to kind of pinch, and I don't know if you could see that.
Yep, absolutely. You can see that.
But that's what's going on top of the cocktail. And that's a really hidden ingredient, and it goes a long way. It hits you in your nose, and it really makes it a well-rounded cocktail. So you're going to take an orange, top and bottom, and apply pressure with your thumb at the bottom and the peeler at top, and just get a nice fat slice and do that expression that I was illustrating on the top of the cocktail. Pinch it, squeeze it, and rub it around the rim of the cocktail, and then place it in there.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, UConn. Cheers, Josh. It's really my favorite drink in the world. It's super simple, easy to execute. As long as you use good ingredients, it should be, and you use the same technique, you should be good to go.
That's awesome. Now, I know that in one of our prep conversations, you talk a lot about the measure of a cocktail bar, or for that matter, a dive bar, which tends to be known for their cocktails, right? Why is old fashioned, other than being your go-to, why is the old fashioned your drink to measure all drinks against?
Well, it's kind of checking on the establishment's technique, their ingredients, and their palate. This is the perfectly well-balanced drink. It has bitter, it has sweet, it has, that awesome bourbon that, hits you in your, whoo, that's nice.
Well, it's nice too because it mellows out. This one totally mellows out the bourbon that could sometimes, for some, be somewhat of a deal breaker, right? I mean, most people, when they hear bourbon or whiskey, they're like, oh, that's too strong for me. I can't do that. This allows you to, as you mentioned it before, leave the bourbon as the rock star of the drink.
Absolutely. Whereas I think Woodford Reserve is very enjoyable on its own. It's still the star of the show in this cocktail. You know, the bourbon runs this, and the sugar and the bitters are just, you know, balancing components.
Well, and in following a lot of what you talked about earlier, the look, it's appealing, right? The smell, it's not entirely crazy to, you know, when you're hit, it doesn't hit your nose and make you take your head back of any sort. It doesn't have that strong bite that some liquors have.
Yeah, the citrus oil really lessens the blow. It actually, like, although I consider this drink very manly, it makes it very feminine, in which the smells just, you know, ease up to you and make it super easy to get into.
But I think if you think back to the image that we shared a little earlier about the palette, not only do you really get everything everywhere because there's a component that kind of fits all of those, for those that are trying to appreciate a little bit more in terms of the spirit world or the whiskey world, you definitely get that sweetness on the tip of your tongue. Eli, there was a question that came back in. If you can re-demonstrate just really quick, if you don't mind, the steps of expressing the orange. Obviously, when you're peeling, you know, if you have a Y peeler, that's easy enough to do. If you have a traditional peeler, it might be a little bit harder. So if you don't mind expressing the orange one more time, I think folks would appreciate that.
Sure,
and which side
sure.
the actual, like, the peel, the rind of it on the outside versus the actual inside of it, which way faces which?
All right, sure. So this orange obviously has a top and a bottom. And the reason why I go top to bottom or bottom to top is so you can get the most uses out of it. You know, we're going to juice this orange or eat this orange or use it as a garnish later.
Right.
So we're going back on that sustainability thing about using every piece of the fruit. So I'll demonstrate it one more time. Starting at the top, apply pressure with the peeler. Get a nice fat peel. Okay. And so it's going long ways this way. This is the outside. This is the inside. And you want the outside to be facing towards the rim of the glass. We'll grab my handy flashlight right over here. And
So the outside, so the actual exterior rind is the part that's facing the glass.
Absolutely, yeah. So once you squeeze it and pinch it, it's going to form a line in the middle, a horizontal line, and the citrus oils are going to be expressed outward, like so. And so you do that once. That's like the middle fold. But then again, I like to express it twice more and kind of rotate it so that the half from here down, there's still more useful oils in it. And then from the top half up, get that again and express that again. And then you rub it on the rim of the glass so the oils are actually coming out and getting their scent on this glass, this rocks glass. And
You can totally see it on my glass this time.
there you have it.
Even more citrus, so can't go wrong with that.
I'll allow it.
All right, so let's move on. We've got 3 more drinks to make, and I need to tell my boss right now, I may not show up to work tomorrow, so you'll know why. Obviously, I'm doing work tonight, so I think many folks are experiencing the same thing. So what do we got next on deck?
All right. Next on deck, we got Daquiri. So we have this coupe glass that we've been chilling. I'm going to bring it back in center stage. We can leave the ice in there. When I say daiquiri, what do you think of, Josh?
Well, I was hoping you might be making me something on an 80-degree beach or a cruise ship somewhere, but last I checked, it's 25 degrees here in Connecticut, so I'm guessing that's not what we're having tonight.
Yeah, we are not going to be doing the frozen daiquiri, although I do enjoy those. This daiquiri is going to warm you up a lot quicker. This daiquiri is an old school daiquiri. It's another balanced cocktail, super easy to make. It's just perfect in almost every way. I do really enjoy those frozen daiquiris with the blenders, and I will sip them when I go on cruises and stuff like that. But this is another way to measure a bar. If you order a daiquiri and it comes out frozen, I would check the sources on this one. But this is, you know, traditional daiquiri. It's super easy. It's made with rum, sugar, and lime juice.
All right.
And I gave you guys a couple of options. I really love rum, but rum is kind of like the Wild West. Whereas, you know, bourbon before, it has strict rules. The only thing you can add to bourbon is water. So just to like keep it around 40% or whatever. But with rum, you can add coloring, you can add sugar on the back end, you can add molasses. You could say it's a different age than it actually is. So for that reason, I am very picky with my rums. I like Privateer. Privateer is a New England group out of Ipswich. They're super awesome people. And I also like Florida Caña. That's from Nicaragua, but there are still no additives and no preservatives, no sugar added on the back end, no lies and age statement. But let's get started with the daiquiri.
So while you're doing that, our friend down in Costa Rica happens to rub it in that it's 72 degrees there currently. So
Yeah.
for those of you that are wanting the tropical weather, they're experiencing it. And a quick question that came in, Eli, are you willing to share these recipes with us so that we can share them afterwards?
Absolutely.
Out to our folks. All right.
Absolutely,
perfect.
yeah.
All right, we'll take care of that.
All right. So for this daiquiri, you're either going to do cubes or 3 spoonfuls of sugar. And let's put those sugar cubes, put that sugar in the bottom of the shaker tin, or it doesn't matter, any side of the shaker tin. As long as you don't add ice to the cocktail that's being made, then we should be good to go. My reasoning for that is because you don't want it to get watered down or diluted without intention. So we take those sugar cubes. Let's take a lime. We're going to take a lime, and first, we're going to cut a wheel out of the middle. So you make one slice, make another slice. We basically have almost 2 halves of a lime, and then make a slit in the side of the lime. This is for putting it on the drink, okay, on the glass. So I don't know if you guys have juicers at home. They're super easy. If not, no worries. You just throw these 2 halves of the lime. I like to give them a squeeze first and then throw them in there. Squeeze first. Oh, also, before you do anything, you should rinse all these fruit. I did prior, but you never know what kind of pesticides or whatnot's in there. But
Smart, absolutely smart.
all right, so we juiced some of those limes and have that sugar cube sitting in there. And let's just muddle that a little bit more until the sugar breaks up. And until all of the juice is extracted from that lime.
Might take a minute.
Take your time.
How many, well, let me say this. At a bar, do you guys get the small limes or do you get large ones? I mean, because obviously depending on your provider.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty standard. I wouldn't say they're key lime sized. They're pretty much the same size as the lemons that we get. So lemons are slightly bigger.
Got it.
You know, this is just our available produce right now.
Right. So really quick to the question that just came in for folks that are trying to do this. This should be the shaker tin that you're using, not a glass. If you do this in glass, there's a good chance you might actually break it.
Yeah, I prefer to use metal shaker tins. If I'm not saying I've never used a pint glass to shake, but that's also why I have so many scars in my hands and you know, I have plenty of shards of glass in my arm and hand, so I'm a tin man from now on.
One other question that came in. This should be both halves of the lime as long as you've cut that wheel out of this one. So you're going to cut a wheel out first, which is basically the centerpiece, right?
Correct.
Once you have that, both sides will go in, and then you start to muddle it.
Correct.
All right, I'm just following up on the question that's here, so I'll keep muddling away until I get it all out of there.
If you happen to have like a pre-juiced lime, I would use 3/4 ounces, so almost all the way to the top of this smaller side of the jigger. So, like the old fashioned, it's okay to have, you know, little grains of sugar in there. But next up, we're going to add some rum into that, and that will help dissolve it. So this one will go Flor de Caña, extra secco, but whatever rum you have, you got Bacardi. Bacardi's fine, perfect. So we're going to go 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. I'm going to go 2 ounces. I'm a trained professional. I'm walking home. I'm off for the next 2 days.
There you go.
So now all of the ingredients are in the shaker tin. Now all we have to do is add ice. So we're going to take, if you have a Boston shaker tin, I like to have it full, overflowing, all the way to the top. And clamp it down. You want to bop it down to give it a suction. And then you're going to want to shake it. You want it to be a loud shake. Josh, you want to do some bar flare for us?
Last time you had me try this, when there was no liquid involved, I ended up dropping it and damaging my desk. So I'm going to pass on that one. But I was just going to point out.
Let's get a nice shake on. So, a lot of bartenders have their own style. I like to call this one the cocktail snob, where they go. The important thing is that you are diluting this, you're chilling this, you're adding air, you're adding oxygen, you're adding flavor, froth, body, feel. So as long as you shake it really hard, you want to go until basically the outside is frosty, nice and frosty. All right, let's place that down for a moment, dispose of the ice that is chilling this glass. And we are going to double strain this, okay? So, meaning we're going to take a Hawthorne strainer. This is the one with the little springy on top. You're going to put that on the strainer, on the tin. So it's going to remove the big ice chunks. And then we're going to strain it over this mesh strainer. This mesh strainer is going to catch the little pieces of pulp, the little ice chunks. But if you don't have this, that's fine. It's still going to be a delicious drink. You just might have to nibble on those pulp bits and the little ice chips. And if someone likes it like that, that's their preference. But when we get real fancy, we double strain it.
Now, to make sure you're holding the top of this, right? Because
yes,
my store.
Good point. You want to place your pointer finger on top, holding this, preventing you from dumping the whole contents into this.
I'm already hearing there's some spillage in the audience, so we want to make sure we can prevent that from happening any further. So this is still filtering out. If you have a lot of pulp and a lot of ice chips, I like to give it a little tap through. I went without the double strain.
Yeah. So then you take that lime wheel and rest it on the side. It's a really nice look. I've always said that wheels more aesthetically pleasing and wedges are better for squeezing. So if you're doing like a vodka soda or rum and coke and you just want to squeeze it in there, then that's when you use a wedge. But for aesthetics, I like the wheel.
So Eli, let me ask you this. You just talked all about the shaking process. Now we know James Bond liked it a certain way, right? It was shaken, not stirred. Why do we do that? And what's the difference between this versus shaking like we did in the last drink?
So the difference between shaking and stirring is usually used for cocktails that don't have juice or anything non-alcoholic in it. For example, a Negroni. A Negroni is gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth. There's nothing in that that can spoil. There's nothing in there that needs to be like mixed it with such ferocity that this Daiquiri does, because there's lime juice in there. That's why we shake it, basically.
Got it.
It also kind of treats the drink different. This is more diluted. It's chilled faster, whereas stirring, it takes a little while to get it to the desired temperature.
Got it.
But enough talking. Let's taste this Daiquiri.
All right. Cheers. That's an easy sipper right there. That's dangerous if you're sitting in a warm day.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Well, while Eli's getting his next things, if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to throw those in the chat now. If you got any questions, we've got the Q&A box open as well, so feel free to jump in there. Eli, one of the questions that did come in here, what about martinis? What's your go-to, shake or stir?
So I've worked in a lot of places. I've worked in New York, Boston, Connecticut. It's preference. Some people's martinis is all about the temperature. Okay, they want it super chilled. They want those ice chunks in there. They want it more diluted. That's James Bond style because, you know, he was a good drinker, heavy drinker, wanted to put it back as fast as he could. Didn't matter about the dilution. But if it was, you know, a regular martini, I recommend it stirred, but, you know, James Bond is the man. So how am I going to say that he's wrong? It's all about preference. It's all about preference. But yeah, that's why he liked his shaken, so he could throw them back faster, I think.
So Eli, somebody already outed you. I know you're going to talk a little bit about this in a little bit, but you've got something in front of you that somebody's caught their eye. Can you talk about what that is and how that came to be?
All right, so yeah, we're going to go over some garnish techniques later. This is a citrus peel that says "Welcome UConn." If you write little messages in your drink, it really goes a long way. People love it. It's a fan favorite. It makes people feel special. You could write their name. And for our last drink, I'll show you how we do that.
Nice. Now, Eli, one other question that did come in was people are seeing that from their end, the Daiquiri did not quite fill to the top of the glass. Is that probably the size of the lime that has anything to do with that? Or should there be water added?
Well, my glass, this is a gigantic glass. This is 12 ounces. So you can pour a whole beer in here. So some of our guests complain about that too. And I'm like, hey, listen, trust me, there's a lot of booze in here, but it does look like a lot of space. I did do some damage on it, but it was like about to here. Glassware, it's very important what type of glassware you use.
Okay.
And I think next go around I would get a slightly smaller glass, although this is delicious.
Well, this is UConn country, so I'm pretty sure that there's not too many that are complaining about it. And if you signed up to do this on a Tuesday, clearly you knew what you were getting yourself into. But nonetheless, on to the Mojito.
So the Mojito is basically the same drink that we just made. It's a variation on it with a little twist on it. Mint, soda water. But the technique that we're going to do is going to start off the same. But before we get into that, I want to talk about prepping your mint. So in a lot of bars, it's hard to keep mint looking fresh. Okay, we have it sitting in water right now, but basically, you're going to want to, upon receiving it, you want to remove the lower leaves, pluck them, and throw them in another cup, which we're going to be using for the actual cocktail, whereas the nice looking ones we're going to be using for the garnish. So these are pretty much alive. You see how the stem is brown? You're going to want to cut it at a 45-degree angle, just like it were flour, like a flower, and sit it in water. So, you know, here at Rail Stop, we have long shifts, and we need the mint to stay pretty. And, you know, some people shock it in ice, sit them in ice, others do hot water. Here, we let it chill for a little bit on ice, and then cut it at a 45-degree angle and sit it in water.
Okay. So cut it at 45, throw it in some water. Got it. Now, how many leaves should be in our glass at this point?
Well, for a mojito, it depends how minty you want it. Here at Rail Stop, we're going to go about 7 mint leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay?
Now, this is going in our shaker tin, or is this going in our glass?
Yep.
All right, let me throw that into the glass, into the shaker tin then.
Then we're going to take another lime, do the same exact thing, cut the middle out for our garnish, squeeze most of it in, throw the rest in. If your hands are tired, here you go. Squeeze it in, throw it in. And then we're going to take 2 more sugar cubes or 3 scoops of sugar, raw sugar, and throw that in the shaker tin as well. So now we have most of the non-alcoholic ingredients in here. Like I said, we didn't want to add ice because if we were adding ice, it would melt and dilute while I'm yapping on. We don't want that because you know how long I could talk. But let's muddle those sugar cubes, the mint, and you don't want to murder the mint. You just want to bruise it. You don't want to completely kill it. But it is important that the sugar is broken up mostly and the mint is expressed and that all that is mixed in there well. Then, for this one, I'm going to use Privateer. Privateer is another local product. Delicious. I support these guys. You should too if you could find them. So for this one, I'm going to go 1.5 ounces. I was drinking long before you guys showed up, but, you know, I'll take it easy. Throw that on top of the mixture.
Eli, really quick. Question came in, reviewing how much mint again should be in our glass or in our shaker tin.
I used 7 mint leaves.
7.
Yeah.
All right.
So now that all the non-alcoholic, all the ingredients are in there, let's add some ice. Fill it to the top and a little more.
Making sure all my sugar cubes are broken up.
Mm-hmm.
Ice to the top, you said?
Fill it to the top, little overflow is fine if you can fit it in there.
Running out of ice. You didn't tell me I needed a couple pounds.
Sorry. We have ice machines here. That was inconsiderate of me. So let's give that a good shaking.
Eli, really quick before you shake, we talked about how many cubes of sugar to put in. What do you recommend in terms of if you're using household sugar?
So I would do 3 tablespoons, kind of the same way, same amount as the daiquiri. If the daiquiri was too sweet, then I would use less. You know, everyone has a different palate. I have a sweet tooth. That's why I feel like 2 sugar cubes or 3 tablespoons or 3 tablespoons is good enough. So
okay. So really quick, just to review, just the question came in to review if we can. We did 7 Leaves of mint into the shaker tin with about 3 cubes of sugar and 3 tablespoons or teaspoons.
2 sugar cubes or three spoonfuls.
Okay, 3 spoonfuls. So if you have a household spoon, 3 of those.
Yeah.
All right. So then once you did that, we cut the lime. So we got ourselves a wheel again. And then we took the 2 halves. We've squeezed those both into here, into the shaker tin. And then we've muddled everything together. Not killing the mint, but being enough to break up all of our sugar. Yeah.
So when someone asks for skinny cocktails or less sugar, it depends if they're at the bar or if it's for a table. If it's at a table, I will just make it regularly and send it because that's the proper ratio of things. But skinny cocktails, like a skinny margarita, can be done with soda water instead. And, you know, like, I feel like guests are scared of sugar. That's not because sugar is bad for you. Sugar is fine for you. It's the high fructose corn syrup and the fake garbage that people are putting in their bodies that is really bad for you. Sugar is fine. And we don't use anything with high fructose corn syrups or preservatives or additives. That's why the type of sugar is very important for me.
All right. So we've got all our ingredients are in here now. I'm guessing we have to shake.
Most of them. So let's get a good shake.
Yeah, I can't do that whole arm shake that you do.
I'm tired,
the whole body goes into that thing. But if you listen, you can hear how much the ice is broken up in there. Yeah,
and that's another sense of the whole cocktail process is the sounds and the shakes. If you hear a mojito get shaken like that, chances are it's going to be very delicious.
So Eli, while you're about to pop the top on this, one of the questions came in: why no simple syrup? I know the answer. Why don't you tell us why we don't have simple syrup in either of these tonight?
So it's preference. I like the graininess, the texture of raw sugar. I demand that for old fashions, but I believe that simple syrup is fine for mojitos. It's fine for daiquiris, but for an old fashioned, you got to use a sugar cube. You can definitely use simple syrup for a mojito. I'm not against.
What is simple syrup, and so we can kind of explain.
Simple syrup is an invention to make drink making easier. I'm not in that business, but yeah, it's equal parts sugar, equal parts water. It makes it easier to mix with drinks, and it's just equal parts sugar and water. That's why it's simple syrup.
All right.
So if we're going to do this cocktail with simple syrup instead of sugar cubes, I would recommend 3/4 ounces simple syrup, 3/4 ounces lime juice. That's that perfect ratio of sour and sweet. So now,
awesome.
Now that we've shaken this cocktail, I'm going to take your pint glass or highball glass and get it ready to go. And once again, we're going to use the Hawthorne strainer on top of the shaker tin. Keep your finger on top, pushing it down, and then you're going to take this mesh strainer to remove all of the mint leaves and ice particles and pulp. So you can see that dark green color. And so this doesn't fill the glass too much, but you can see all of the mint that was removed in it. I actually don't mind the mint leaves in the drink as well, but some people don't want a salad in their drink. So for this purpose, we will remove it.
I'm going to grab some more ice while you're doing that.
Yeah, that's right. So now we fill the pint glass with ice. And basically top it with soda.
All right. To Suzanne out there, you're having your Manhattan tonight because you don't have all the ingredients and you got the fake red cherries. Don't worry, I couldn't find the special one, so mine came from the local Wally World. So I'm with you. So
It's
enjoy.
all right.
Cheers to you.
So you top it with soda water.
Soda water, got it.
Mix it around a little bit so that the minty mixture, beautiful cocktail comes up to the top. We're going to take that lime wheel, put it on the edge. I'm going to add a tiny bit more soda. So the most important part of a mojito is how you address the mint on top. So I have, a pretty good amount of mint, maybe 3 sprigs. You're going to want what I call is flapping it on your hand to release the smells and aromas of this mint, because when you're going in for this drink, that's going to hit you first.
So Eli, I was going to ask you again. You mentioned this to me when I went through a run through of this the other day.
Yeah.
You have basically a full salad on yours as you.
Yeah.
Can talk to me about what's behind all that.
So when you're when you're going to enjoy it, you're breathing in normally, and this is going to bring you to a certain place. I don't know if it's a Caribbean island or your garden in the back, but before you even sip this drink, I want you to breathe in with your nose, and it's just that expression, that smack of the mint that awakens the.
No, it's noticeable. Definitely noticeable.
So,
all right.
Cheers. Let's enjoy.
Cheers.
And that is a mojito, and that's pretty much a daiquiri. Just add mint and add soda water, and it's a beautiful classic.
I don't know about you, but now I'm itching to get myself into warmer weather. So I know that our friend down in Costa Rica invited us all down to join her anytime. So thanks, Jeanette, for that. We'll book the next flight we can, and we'll all come down and crash at your place as long as there's plenty of mojitos and daiquiris to go around.
I'm in.
All right. So get our workstation clear a little bit here. We have only one more left, right?
Yeah, so let's get into this True Blue UConn hot toddy. So we went over the importance of ingredients for me, and I know that for most places, the only way you can get a blue color is with blue curacao, which is artificial. It's blue number 5. It's high fructose corn syrup. It's everything that I hate. But today, we're going for this cool ingredient called butterfly pea flower. It's a tea. I get mine from wildhibiscus.com. Those guys are out of Australia, but this is a flower that is native to Asia. And this flower changes color based on the acidity of the soil. So we're going to do some magic real quick if you're ready for it.
All right, let me get my hot water and I'll join you just now.
All right.
The joy of not having a bar right next to me. All right, rock and roll.
So we've put that mug aside with hot water in it. Mine's warm right now. The worst part about a hot toddy is that they don't stay hot very long. That's why it's vital to fill it up with hot water before you put it in there, and it just stays hot a lot longer. So now we're going to dispose of this hot water that was just sitting in there. I'm going to take one of these tea bags and put it in this vessel. and we're going to fill it up maybe 3/4 of the way, all right, with hot water. That should do it. And you can see, I hope, the color that's coming out of it already. It's dark, it's blue, it's glorious.
So a couple of quick things as we're letting this tea seep here. So folks, if you don't have the butterfly pea tea, unfortunately, this drink is not possible to be made in the form that we're doing it. So if you do not have that, you can obviously make a hot toddy in the traditional way of using a whiskey with, say, a traditional English breakfast tea or something to that effect.
English
But it will,
black tea, green tea, some herbal peach teas, but none of them are going to change color or be this special, we'll say.
and for the question that's out there about the butterfly pea tea, again, I'm just pulling this up while we're sitting here now because if you're interested in what it is the butterfly pea tea is also commonly known as blue tea, caffeine free. It is from the Clitoria ternacea plant. I know the question about where the genus was from. If you go ahead and look on Google, you'll find tons of information out there as well. But that's just a quick search so you have some background there.
So while we let this tea steep, I'm going to get started on this little garnishing technique that a friend of mine showed me. So this cocktail uses lemon juice, so I don't want to waste the peel. I want to be able to use every part of the fruit. So I'm going to remove all of this peel, and you can either use it as a garnish or a name tag, or you could use it for the citrus oils. But in order to do so, you need to start a canvas, we'll call it. We'll start from the bottom. We'll start from the top of the lemon and go around it, trying to get most of the peel without damaging the fruit, kind of making like a corkscrew type shape.
This must take years of practice to get that to work the way that you.
I mean, I've been doing it for a while.
I'm like, I just don't want to cut off a finger, so that's my goal here.
so yeah, I removed most of the peel. One possible garnish technique you can do is wrap it around your finger, starting from one side, and then just continue it. Right? It's going to continue its natural flow, and it goes into a flower, and you could put that on top, or you could make a name tag, which I'm going to do real quick. So basically, I'm just going to cut a section off. Okay, put these aside. We have a nice little rectangle of lemon peel that, I'm just going to carve it a little bit. Let's hope I keep all my fingers after this. Hopefully I remember how to spell UConn. All right. And of course, when I'm making this for actual guests, we're using gloves and masks and all that fun COVID protocol stuff. But since all of my guests are online, we can do whatever we want.
Now, working as quickly as you are and with a tool like you are, this is not something that we're recommending that you're doing at home while Eli's doing this. Obviously, as I mentioned, my epic fail or peak 2020 is a bunch of this to work with. So I'm not going to be carving any UConn today. And I like to consider myself at least somewhat of an experienced person with a knife. That's not happening today. So what do we got?
Got this nice UConn little
Awesome
name tag, I'll call it.
There you go. That's beautiful, man.
All right. So now that we've used the waste products of the lemon, let's cut that in half. And let's squeeze half that lemon into this blue tea, right? If you do
now, are we removing the tea bag first, or is that staying in?
Yeah, well, let's remove it. Good idea.
And this is where you wanted our folks to make sure that they're paying attention, because this is the science trick, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to squeeze this lemon in, and it should turn from blue to pink. You can start to see the color change. I'm going to use 2 lemon halves.
See if I can get that to show up a little bit better. See, mine's already going to more of a purple color. Awesome.
And then, since we're doing some drinking, let's keep this one a little light. We'll go maybe 1 ounce of bourbon and a half an ounce of honey.
Half ounce of honey.
Yeah. So sometimes honey is hard to deal with. So what you can do is dilute it with hot water prior and make a honey simple syrup.
Now, for those folks that are interested in a little bit more about the butterfly PT, not that we're signing off on any of this, but some of the information that's out there actually indicate that this is, number one, it's caffeine free, and number 2, that it actually is used in Asian culture to help with weight loss and for keeping your metabolism in check. So I know quarantine's been fun for me. I know it probably has been fun for a lot of folks. So I'm thinking this might become part of my regimen if it tastes good.
There you go. And it's a great way to stay in shape.
There you go. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. That's a delicious drink.
Now, if we weren't able to create a UConn, would you still put this in the drink so that it adds a little flavor or color to it?
Yeah, so I would definitely, express the citrus oil and maybe give it a little swirly flour,
I'm actually, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this. Everything I've read about it said it's very earthy in flavor, but adding that honey and a little bit of that bourbon adds a nice kind of balance to it. This is actually enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. No one's ever
right.
about any of my drinks, by the way. You're the first, so thank you.
Glad we could. So as we are kind of getting to the point, and Eli's working on some garnishing pieces there to kind of show you some other pieces, if there are final questions, we're coming up close to the final minutes of our workshop tonight. Really quickly, the questions, you guys are all beating me to it. Feel free to enter the questions into the Q&A section there. Any last minute things you want to send to your fellow Huskies in chat, you can go ahead and do that. Eli, one of the questions was if you can use your flashlight. Now I might have missed because we changed everything through the hot toddy. That's a question that's there. I see that somebody's actually raised their hand. If you can throw that into the Q&A for us, the next one over, that way we can actually get to whatever your question might be.
Can you see the color of?
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a nice color. You couldn't really, I can't see it without it. So yeah, it's a nice purpley pink. I feel like the length of time that we let it steep, maybe it needed a little more citrus, but it definitely got a real awesome reaction with a cool color change.
Nice.
And we used to have this drink that used this trick, and it's an Instagram, Snapchat favorite when people get to squeeze citrus into the drink, and it changes.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
Absolutely. Now, one of the questions that did come in, Eli, if you can, when we were going ahead and doing the lemon, squeezing that and watching the reaction happen, we quickly jumped into how much honey and how much bourbon. What do you recommend, again, as the ounces of measure that we should be using for each of those?
So for this one, I went a little light. I would go an ounce bourbon and a half an ounce honey.
So half an ounce. I did half a tablespoon, basically half of a traditional house spoon.
Yep.
And that actually worked out really well. And I tend not to like overly sweet things. So I would recommend probably starting at that level and then kind of working from there.
Awesome.
This is more of a couple of questions in regards to you and what you're doing now. Is Railstop open right now? They live incredibly close by and want to swing by.
Awesome. Unfortunately, we are closed Sunday nights, Monday nights, and Tuesday nights. Well, Sunday nights, Mondays, and Tuesdays. We're open the rest of the week, though. But me having it being closed allowed me to participate in this without a bunch of people running around, so it was perfect. And this is just
Nice.
hours because of COVID and whatnot. Hey, Dylan. Dylan's back. Dylan's my AGM. He's coming to say hi. So normally we would have no one in. Come on, say hi to my UConn people. Look at that. He's wearing a union shirt. Get out of here. Get out of here. So yeah, but no, we're not open now. We are open Wednesdays from noon to 9 p.m. Thursdays, noon to 9 p.m. We open a little early on Saturdays and Sundays at 11:30 for brunch. We're hanging in there. It's not terribly busy. You know, outdoor dining is pretty much done, but we have a huge, beautiful restaurant with plenty of tables that are 6 feet away from other guests, and we've been able to survive this so far, and we hope you guys come in and say hi to us.
Absolutely. No, thanks for that. A couple other questions that have come in. One question came in asking, saying my drinks were actually a brighter color. I'm not entirely sure. The alcohol I'm using, I mean, it may be, we are using slightly different rum tonight. So that could be part of it. One of the questions I did have for you, Eli, was white rum versus spice. Does that matter with mojitos? Does that matter with daiquiris? Will that cause a different kind of flavor profile for us?
So spiced rums have spices added to them, where I prefer a traditional seco rum, which means dry, like Flor de Caña or Privateer Silver. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it with other brands or spirits. Same to say you can't do an old fashioned with rye or with
Right.
or with rum. There's no rules. It's basically preference. If you're a super spiced rum guy, do an old fashioned with the spiced rum. Do your mojitos, do your daiquiris with the spiced ones.
Cool. For those that are interested in the recipe, I see that question came in as well. We will be sending this to you. We have all your email. We did record this as well tonight, so you will get a chance to come back, look through these, see how we made these drinks tonight, and anything that you might have missed, you can come back to it. But we will be providing the recipes to you once we get those from Eli. We'll go ahead. We'll get that in a follow-up email. It may not be tomorrow with the actual recording and follow-up, but we will make sure that a follow-up email gets sent to all of you so that you have that. One other question specific to you, Eli. What flavored wood would you use for smoke-infused whiskey drinks?
Is this like just putting wood into the whiskey? Is that?
I would assume so. Unfortunately, I don't have enough. Christy, you're out there. If you want to go ahead and throw that either in the chat or there you go. I'm guessing with a cloaches. Oh, hang on. Cloach, C-L-O-A-C-H-E. I'm not familiar with myself.
I'm not sure about that either, but I do. Hold on one moment. Let's see what I have lying around here. I have right behind me some European chestnut wood that we make bitters out of. So, you know, bourbon is made with new American oak. So to put that inside of a bourbon would be kind of redundant. So I would suggest something something different, like European chestnut or even cherry. There's so many different ways you could go with infusing your whiskeys or making it different. But
nice.
I don't know. Try it out. Let me know what works.
Question came in: will there be a graduate course including Bloody Marys? I think that's something we can explore.
It depends how much time you have. My Bloody Mary recipe is a couple pages long, and the shopping list is not going to be. You're not going to be able to get that at home.
Understood. Let's see. Next question: should the bitters be refrigerated now that we've opened it?
Angostura bitters do not need to be refrigerated. They are 44.7% alcohol by volume. That's good enough to keep at room temperature. You do want to make sure the top is on, though. You don't want any pests to get into it.
Got it. We should do this quarterly. I think that's something we'll consider. I don't know about Eli, but maybe we can start spreading the love and helping out a couple other of our barbacks and mixologists across the country and see what we can do. But we can try it out. Let's see. I think that's a bell of smoke put over a glass of whiskey or bourbon. So that's the cloche piece I think that they were talking about.
Oh, he's smoking it, like lighting it on fire.
Yeah, it sounds that way. Don't do that. We don't need you burning down the place. The Celtics and the Bruins might get a little upset.
I've played with New American Oak, which is the same wood that this whiskey is aged in. I've blow-torched it and then put the glass on top. But I don't have that much experience in pyrotechnics like that. we had this drink that we featured on this local news show, and we called it the Campfire Old Fashioned, in which we roasted a marshmallow over the old fashioned that was flaming, and the fire department came in and told us, hey, don't do this.
Do that.
So
yeah, this device, and I think I've seen it, and especially if you worked in any culinary world, it's basically a contraption that can go over it, so that the smoke from the outside that goes in, the smoke goes in and basically absorbs into the alcohol or the actual food product.
Yeah, I've seen mesquite chips be really cool and flavorful, but do your research. I can't answer that, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So, but
awesome. So more research needed, basically, right?
Yeah.
Challenge accepted, I think, right? I mean, I know that you're one person that will never shy away from something like that.
Yeah.
One of the questions that's here, obviously in the time of COVID, we're not all necessarily having these big luscious parties that we used to, but any of the cocktails that were made tonight, I think with the exception of the tea, which is obviously a one-to-one kind of thing, we're really, to get that effect, you got to have to, make sure you have enough tea bags, et cetera, to make it work. How much can you scale these up before it becomes a detriment to the actual flavor profile? Would you recommend, say you have 10 people coming over, multiplying by 10 and being good, or do you think that there's a certain point where we start to dilute the actual recipe?
I think if you were going to scale out an old fashioned, just multiply the sugar cubes and the dashes of bitters by however many guests you're having over. I do not recommend doing bulk mojitos. But the daiquiri, the same with the daiquiri. Like, you could do the daiquiri in old fashioned if you batch them out completely ahead of time and just add ice or shake it, or even blend it at that point. You should be good to go. It's not something that I don't do when we have large scale events. We do absolutely batch our cocktails, and all you need is the correct ratio to carry it out, and the proper dilution, which if you're serving it out of a punch bowl, don't add the ice until the very end.
All right. Well, I think that's basically all the time that we have for today. Eli, any parting words for your fellow Huskies throughout the globe?
UConn!
Huskies!
I just, it's been a while.
Can't not do it.
Yeah.
Well, Eli, from all of us here at the Alumni Relations team and the UConn Foundation, we can't thank you enough. We know this is a day off for you, so truly appreciate it. You and I have met for countless hours leading up to this, kind of building out this menu. And honestly, man, it's been a pleasure to work with you. Can't thank you enough. And for all of you out there in UConn Nation, thanks for tuning in to us tonight. Obviously, getting a chance to spend some time with a rock star and an expert like Eli. I think you'll all join me in thanking him from afar. If you're still here and you want to throw a thanks into the chat so Eli can read those, we greatly appreciate that. But Eli, thanks so much, my friend.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Jody. Thanks, UConn. Miss you guys.
Well, we miss you too, and definitely come back and see us. And as all of you are making your way to exit the event tonight, just want to make you all aware of a couple of other things. If you've enjoyed this event tonight, we have more 1881 series online coming your way. The next in the series will actually be January 20th of 2021. For those of you that are familiar with the Black is Beautiful craft beer movement, bringing social justice awareness to the industry and public mainstream. It was started by Weathered Souls Brewing in San Antonio, Texas, by a gentleman named Marcus Baskerville. He's the owner and brewer down there at Weathered Souls. Now in 22 countries, 1,400 breweries, something around that number. And he's going to be joining us for this discussion as we focus on the Black is Beautiful movement and what that has meant to the beer industry and to the entire world in the social justice time. Please feel free to join us for that. We also have the owner of, in Manchester, Connecticut, Labyrinth Brewing joining us, and the owner and head brewer of Still Hill Brewing in Rocky Hill joining us. Both are alums of UConn, and they're going to be joining us for that discussion. And for those of you that are sour beer friends, I know that I have many colleagues that are in that world. We also will be doing a sour beer, why so sour, the science of the sour beer coming up in the new year. So make sure you tune into that one as well. And then tomorrow, for those of you looking for career advice or any type of pieces as we're going into the holiday season, we have a wellness in the workplace. And basically by workplace, we mean the new workplace, your home office, whatever it is, to make sure that you're keeping yourself healthy as we continue in this current state of affairs. But again, from all of us here at UConn Alumni Relations and the UConn Foundation, we can't thank you all enough for joining us. Another huge thanks to Eli. We truly appreciate everything that you did tonight. And we want to say from the bottom of our hearts to all of you out there, kudos to all of you for joining us and for sticking through this whole pandemic situation. We really hope we can see you at some point soon in the new year and see you in person and hopefully with a drink in hand at one of our 1881 events. But until then, happy holidays to all of you that celebrate. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time. So thanks very much, everybody. Take care.